Order. I call the member for Lawler.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And I'm thrilled today to rise on this MPI because everyone in this place knows how important I think school education is. And I'm very pleased because, of course, I did have a question at question time that I didn't get to ask because the Prime Minister finished question time. So I suppose I could posit it now. Perhaps to the member for Brisbane might help me in answering this. The member for Menzies called for the government to give the details of the funding model to the party room because the crossbenchers have got them, but the party room haven't got them. So my question is now to the member for Brisbane, have you seen the detail? Because we'd like to call on the government to bring it in here, because I'd like to see the detail, and so would all of the parents of kids in schools in my electorate of Lawler. Every parent across Lawler would like to see the government's numbers. They've seen the fantasy numbers, now they'd like to see the ones they're shopping around the crossbench, Deputy Speaker. Because I think it's important for the member for Brisbane to understand that apparently there's a quote from Senator Roberts from One Nation who says, "We like the fact that this proposal from the federal government will reduce spending." No! So the crossbench know that it's a reduction. The gallery know it's a $22.3 billion cut. But those opposite in the backbench, they've been kept in the dark. They might want to go and spend some time with Voldemort. Deputy Speaker, on the day this policy was announced, the Prime Minister said to the press gallery, "I will end the funding wars in education." We all heard the man. Well, hasn't he had a lesson? Hasn't he had a lesson? This is the biggest funding war we've seen in 50 years. You couldn't divide the sectors anymore. You couldn't be any more anti-David Gonski's vision if you tried. He's got the Catholics wanting to tear out his throat. He's got the public sector wanting to tear out his throat. Now today, we think the independent sector are going to want to tear out his throat. He has restarted the funding wars. He has absolutely set the dogs loose. And now it's being played out in his own party room, these funding wars. This man's a genius, isn't he? As the member for Sydney said, this is some special kind of genius. But of course, we all know that our Prime Minister and the Minister for Birmingham, they are the smartest people in the room. Just ask them. Just ask them. Because they are right. Despite teachers saying they're wrong, despite principals saying they're wrong, despite leaders of sectors across this nation saying they're wrong, despite state governments saying they're wrong, even those of their own colour, despite parents saying they're wrong, they continue to march in here and tell us that they're right, Deputy Speaker. Honest to goodness, you could not read about this. You know, I've stood here for 4 years now, and when Minister Pyne was in charge of education, he would stand at that dispatch box and say, "Money doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter." And Labor's dishonest because it promised funding beyond the forward estimates. Remember those? Guess what? We're promising funding out to 2027 across the other side of the chamber. I think that might be beyond the forward estimates, Deputy Speaker. Now, I do need to include a report card for Minister Birmingham. A report card, and of course teachers across the country are writing reports this week, so I'm sure they'll all enjoy listening into this. They'll all enjoy. My message to Senator Birmingham is really simple. You should spend more time bringing people together. You should spend less time playing favourites. You'd get along much better in the classroom if you united people rather than divide them. So that's my assessment of Minister Birmingham's social education, because, of course, all kids have to learn to collaborate. And the key to collaboration, Deputy Speaker, is bringing people together. Now, of course, that's what we did on this side. The former Labor government saw a major problem and they put their heads together and said, how can we solve this problem? How can we ensure a needs-based funding model for every child in every school? How can we bring everybody together around an idea? And of course, they delivered it. It's a pity some members over there haven't read that review. They keep quoting the man who wrote it, but they forget to read it. They forget to read it. Now, Deputy Speaker, the other point that I have to make before I finish is that there is only one party in this parliament. There's only one party in this parliament that doesn't want to punish one sector against another. There's only one party that wants to bring in needs-based sector-blind funding, and that